It's Wednesday, and it's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning at around 8 o'clock. Join the live chat to sound off on what we're discussing. And get the newsletter where you get newsletters. Go to thecentersquare.com and sign up today. It's free. We're a free newswire service where you can get the latest of what you need to know as a taxpayer in Illinois. And we're going to tackle several different things today. We've got to talk about education and the divide in philosophy around how children should be educated and should there be school choice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've also got the expectation that Governor J.B. Pritzker is going to run for a third term. You've got media out of Chicago reporting he's going to make that announcement this week. Expecting it to be Thursday, but a whole bunch of people are tossing their hats in the ring for re-election, or even people reaching out to me to want to get on the show to talk about their candidacy. We'll actually have one of those on tomorrow with Illinois in Focus, so stay tuned for that. So we've got to tackle some of that as well. Also, we've got to get to a little bit of a preview of the census. U.S. Census data, of course, has shown Illinois losing population in a trend over several years. While the latest census data, it's embargoed until tomorrow at 12:01, but it breaks down the gender and race of individual states and the changes over the several years. So we'll do a bit of a preview on that, just to look back at what has already been released when it comes to census data and what we're expecting to be able to discuss with you. I've seen some of the embargoed data, but can't share that until the embargo lifts. So we'll obviously talk about that in more detail tomorrow here with Illinois in Focus. But we'll do a preview today to delve into that. So that's just some of what we've got coming up today. Want to correct the record. Yesterday and a few days before, I believe, when we were talking about the gun ban litigation, I had mistakenly read June for July as to when the state has been given an extension to respond to the plaintiffs suing in the federal courts. So it's actually July 28th, and I want to thank a listener who commented on the segment about the gun ban litigation and other lawsuits against, say, the Firearm Liability Act that we discussed yesterday. So it's not in 3 days from now when the state's going to be filing their final brief in the appeals court on the gun ban challenge. It's actually July 28th. So we've got to wait another full month to get the state's response. And then we could get some oral arguments scheduled, maybe over the, in August or something, or maybe in September, or who knows, hopefully before the end of the year we get oral arguments, and then how long it takes for the appeals court to actually rule on that case, we'll be watching. So I just wanted to clear the record there, clarify that, correct it, that it's not June 28th when the state's to reply, it's July 28th when the state is set to reply. So just want to make sure I don't mislead anybody. That was an error on my part, simply not reading June versus July correctly. So yes, a lot of stuff going on. There's no question. We'll watch all of that. All right, stay tuned. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. We'll come back and talk about education and different philosophies when it comes to educating the youth in this country. So stay tuned. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here for Illinois in Focus Daily.
children. Yes, we do. We do. We do.
CTU President Stacey Davis Gates Monday in front of the City Club of Chicago talking about education philosophy and really leaning in as the union president, siding with Democrats and saying that the children of the community are the community's. And how does that go up against advocates for school choice? That's what we're going to tackle now here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us here on YouTube each and every weekday morning at 8 o'clock, where we go live. You can join the live chat, and also you can find segments of the show on our YouTube channel. Share it up with friends. Get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. And you can also donate to the Center Square. We're a nonprofit newswire service, free for affiliates and you. So be sure to stay up to date with thecentersquare.com. So Monday, Stacey Davis Gates, the Chicago Teachers Union president, and fresh off of getting a new contract, what's like $1 billion more over several years, and it's going to raise teacher average salaries to 6 figures over time. And there's questions about how to pay for all of that in Chicago, which has a whole host of other funding issues, right? But Davis Gates, in front of the City Club of Chicago, made some controversial comments that I was able to get reaction from a school choice advocate, Jonathan Greenberg from Empower Illinois. Empower Illinois, if you aren't familiar, was one of those scholarship granting organizations in the state of Illinois that came about after the Illinois Invest in Kids Act. And that was the measure passed back in 2017, implemented in 2018. It was a bipartisan collaboration and a compromise to get a new K-12 school funding formula during the Rauner administration. And the Rauner administration fought to have the Invest in Kids program where people could get a tax credit for donating to a scholarship granting organization. And that would allow for those organizations to give scholarships to a school of a parent's choice if they fit certain requirements. Well, that program sunset at the end of 2023, and there was no movement to actually extend that sunset. Republicans wanted it extended. There was a rather interesting collection of different types of advocates on the ground in Springfield for weeks advocating for extending the sunset of the Invest in Kids program, but Democrats in the supermajority did not advance that. A lot of people saying it's because teachers unions, like the Chicago Teachers Union, came in with their political approach and kept the program from being extended. So that's where Empower Illinois comes into this equation. And I talked with Jonathan Greenberg yesterday. But to Monday, Stacey Davis Gates in front of the City Club of Chicago, she talked about some philosophy, and in particular, somebody she quotes and talks about children and who's responsible for them.
Baldwin says the children are always ours.
Always. Yes. Always.
Every single one of them, all over the globe. And what comes next is, CTU thinks your children are its children. Yes, we do. We do. We do. CTU thinks all children belong to it, and there's socialist conspiracy ideology. Well, I don't know about all that, but we like children. We educate them, we nurture them, we protect them, we support them, we negotiate for them, we create space for them. We even have them in our homes. But for real, you guys, in community, we belong to each other. That's the whole point of community.
Keep it real.
We have to love each other in community. We have to see each other in community.
So Davis Gates talking about those ideas of the community raising children. Some people not necessarily tuned into that, especially if they don't agree with whatever dominant community there may be. Like, for instance, at a public school, for instance. So Jonathan Greenberg from Empower Illinois, I chatted with him yesterday and got his reaction to Gates in her comments.
Well, I think obviously it's not true that people's children also belong to a community, certainly not to a teachers union. If I were to choose other people who, had a say in my children's upbringing, I would say that my family, we've done that, right? We associate ourselves with the synagogue. We send our kids to a Jewish day school. We've made those choices about who else has a say in our kids' upbringing. I assume other parents do the same thing. We all associate ourselves with communities, whether it's a neighborhood or a church or a civic organization. I don't think any of us would choose any professional organization. And I certainly don't think if you were choosing a community to help you raise your kids, you would choose the Chicago Teachers Union. I think, but I understand why she makes those kind of comments. First of all, her job is to agitate and to force conversation about these kind of things. And I believe that she really does believe it. I think she really does believe that the only appropriate way to educate children is for the state to take control of them and educate them. I think that her idea of education is that you want kids to come to correct political conclusions as she defines them, and that anything short of that is not actually education. You could actually fail to educate children if they came to the wrong political conclusions. I think that's what she really believes. I think that's what Jackson Potter, her deputy, I think that's what he really believes. Look, I don't really have any criticism of. I obviously disagree with it. I think that one of the visions has to win and one has to lose. I think that parents need to be empowered to make choices for their own children. One of the perfectly reasonable choices you can make is a public school education. I have a kid who just graduated from public high school and another kid who's going into a public high school. That's a perfectly reasonable choice parents can make. Parents need to be empowered to make choices for themselves. And if parents in Chicago want to put their children in schools that are effectively run by Stacey Davis Gates and that ideology, that's the choice they should be able to make. But I think we should empower parents to make different choices. If you don't want your kids learning social studies, U.S. history from people who hate our country, if you don't want them learning from people who think that your children belong to them, then you should be empowered to make different choices.
So Greenberg also reacted to another comment Stacey Davis Gates made yesterday, or Monday rather, in front of the City Club of Chicago. And this one was more politically divisive and asked Greenberg to react to this rhetoric.
It calls for more because there are bombs dropping right now. Project 2025 is becoming a part of our lived reality day by day. From forced birth to the dismantling of the Smithsonian to what appears to be an unconstitutional and unsanctioned war with Iran. We're coming to find that leadership is very important in all of these moments. And if you lead in the way that I lead, you have zero time for anything but organizing our neighbors, protecting our democracy, and resisting the chaos. Keep that word, chaos, through every tool in our collective boxes. We have to stay focused and clear-minded about our community. It calls for more because there are bombs dropping right now. And whatever you feel about the bombs and the reasons why, there are people absorbing the impact. and we can all feel each other's humanity.
She goes on to talk about the Trump administration wanting to defund education, public education, even equated it to, the Confederacy. Here's a little bit more of what she had to say.
And for those of you who don't know him by shorthand, the right-wing MAGA section of the political spectrum, the Illinois Policy Institute. See, they've spent millions of dollars crafting an image of me, my union, our movement, social media, and the pages of the Tribune, editorial or otherwise, that probably have some people thinking that they're gonna get a parody of a Black woman rolling her neck, smacking her lips, or cutting her eyes in an epic clapback for what the news was last week. I'm sorry, I'm not here for that today. I'm not gonna cede our valuable time with each other to score 100 points in an intramural basketball scrimmage against amateurs.
And again, she continues to have some politically divisive comments, including this right here, where she singles out Trump in particular, and tries to tie him again to Project 2025.
Trump has picked his side, and he spells it out in Project 2025. He is here to win the relitigation of the Civil War and finish the work of the Confederacy. But what are we leading? What is the resolution of the unfinished work of the Freedmen's Bureau? This is a blue state, right? How many Underground Railroad sites have you taken kids to on a field trip?
My God, come on.
This is a blue county, isn't it? A blue city with blue executive and legislative leadership. Which side are we on?
So the idea that Trump is trying to win the relitigation of the Civil War and have the Confederacy win in the end, what kind of rhetoric is that, and is that helpful at all? Again, to Empower Illinois CEO Jonathan Greenberg, who advocates for school choice, essentially doubling down that rhetoric like that doesn't help, and it's another instance of where parents need choice.
No, but it's not designed to help it. It's designed to get people who are sensitive to that kind of rhetoric to shut up. She's not trying to have a discussion or have a conversation. She's trying to shut people up if she can by calling them racist. So and the entire move, I read a whole book not too long ago by a University of Illinois professor about how the roots of private schools are all in racism and traceable back to the separate but equal school rulings when a lot of Southern communities did set up private schools. How the entire private school movement is founded in race. Look, none of that is helpful. None of that educates a kid. None of that gives a kid a better future. None of that helps a family make better choices for their kids. All it does is try to get people who disagree with them to shut up, to be scared of them, to be scared of being called a racist. It's silly. It really doesn't make any sense. Back to Confederate times, was there a big push for school defunding during Confederate times? I don't know, and neither is Stacey Davis Gates, and she doesn't care. Like I said, she just wants people to shut up.
So Greenberg obviously reacting to the political and educational philosophy of Stacey Davis Gates, but he's also talking about what's going on over in Washington, D.C. with the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. There's a lot in that measure, but what's in that measure could impact Illinois parents who lost out from the Illinois Invest in Kids program, essentially going defunct and sunsetting. Here he is talking about what could possibly come out of Congress when it comes to education choice.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. So under consideration as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill is what's called the Educational Choice for Children Act, ECCA. It's been rolled into the Big Beautiful Bill, and it's a 100% federal tax credit scholarship for private schools. So what that would mean, 100% federal tax credit means you can either send your money to Washington or you can give it to your local private school to help a kid get a scholarship to go to school there. You're spending the money either way, and the question is where you want it sent. So up to 10% of your adjusted gross income can go for scholarships. Now, under the Invest in Kids Act, most of the kids we were helping were poor and needed the help to go to private schools. This is a little bit more expansive. It goes into the middle-class kids whose parents struggle to send them to private school or would struggle to send them to private school. This is going to give them the ability also to get a scholarship to go. And the amount of money is much more significant. So the federal bill sets aside $4 billion. The Senate version is $4 billion. The House version is $5 billion. They'll have to get together and come up with some kind of an agreement before the president signs it. But we're very, very excited about this. And what it means for Illinois really is very simple. When the legislature failed to renew the Invest in Kids Act, we left something around 15,000 kids stranded. We took away what their family had decided was a better educational opportunity for them and sent them back, many of them into failing public schools where kids are not reading at grade level, not doing math at grade level, schools that are violent or where the physical plant is run down. And we sent them back to those schools from the successful schools that they were in. This really, for blue states like Illinois, this bails us out on that decision. This replaces what was a very successful state program that the legislature killed off because people like Stacey Davis Gates made them. And it replaces it with a federal program that, we're going to be able, we hope, once we show people how much good it does, we hope we're going to be able to defend and even expand. My hope is that this will just be kind of a foot in the door. And if we act correctly, if we defend it properly, if we market it correctly, show people what it's doing, that we'll be able to expand it because it really does work.
So that's Jonathan Greenberg from the organization Empower Illinois. They are a scholarship granting organization, so they would help facilitate those donations for the Illinois Invest in Kids program. And they're looking to, if the big, beautiful bill with that education scholarship tax credit actually is part of it and gets signed into law, they'll be there to help facilitate that in Illinois. So we'll be watching closely, and you can stay up to date here with Illinois in Focus daily, each and every weekday morning here. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com, and get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker expected to announce he's running for a third term for Illinois governor, and that could come Thursday, according to reports out of Chicago. And a whole host of other people are announcing either re-election campaigns or that they're running, and it's going to be an interesting 2026 election. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Let's take a look at NBC Chicago, where they spell out Governor Pritzker set to announce he's running for a third term, according to sources. What this means is you've got the governor who will be in a position to possibly run in 2028 for President of the United States. It's been speculated for quite some time, but he's just one of course, the whole slew of candidates that are tossing their hat into the ring for the 2026 election. For instance, State Representative Nicole Laha announced that she's running for re-election. State Representative Bill Howder announced that he's running for re-election. State Representative Amy Ellick, State Representative Adam Niemerg, State Senator Sally Turner, a whole host of others. That's just some Republicans looking to get re-elected to the Illinois State House. You've also got the 2026 election and all the names that are coming in for Congress. You've got Jan Schakowsky retiring after this term. You've got U.S. Senator Dick Durbin, who's retiring after this term. So those are some pretty big seats, and other seats, at least in Congress, that are going to be opened up. U.S. House members obviously run every 2 years. But governor and statewide offices, that's going to be coming up here. And in particular, you've got an interesting thing that's going to happen with Governor Pritzker because his lieutenant governor, Juliana Stratton, is vying to take over Senator Durbin's seat after he retires. So she's got to get through a Democratic primary with several other Democrats putting their hat into the ring for Durbin's seat. So if she's not going to be on the 2026 gubernatorial ticket as the lieutenant governor for J.B. Pritzker, who's reportedly set to announce, who's going to be the new lieutenant governor for J.B. Pritzker? Is it going to possibly be somebody like Deputy Governor Andy Manar, for instance, down south, Democrat? He was a state senator for a while. He then started working for the governor as deputy governor. Could that possibly be who's put in as the lieutenant governor candidate to run with J.B. Pritzker in 2026? It's interesting pieces on the chessboard being moved around. So that's obviously something that we'll be watching for. And the governor set to make that announcement sometime this week, according to Chicago media outlets. So we'll be talking about this later on this week, clearly. But the governor, he's gonna talk about his record. He's gonna discuss things like, for instance, the state's credit rating and how it's gone up several times, with outlooks being changed from negative to stable to positive. He may talk about the increase of the minimum wage since he took office in 2019, up to $15 an hour. He may talk about the state's rainy day fund that he's been able to somewhat increase over the last few years. But even when it comes to the credit rating and the state's rainy day fund, we're still among the lowest states in the country when it comes to that. He'll also, I'm sure, talk about the state's reproductive health policies and being a state where people can come to get abortions to terminate a pregnancy. He may also discuss the state's sanctuary policies. Not sure if that's going to be a hot political potato, but that could be something he champions. He could talk about the gun ban, for instance, even though that's currently been found unconstitutional. The latest ruling on that is that it's unconstitutional, the gun ban, and that's from a district judge, a federal judge, declaring that the state's gun ban is unconstitutional. But the governor may talk about that, and he may talk about other gun control policies that he's enacted since then. So I'm just thinking about some of the things that we could hear come Thursday when Governor J.B. Pritzker actually makes that announcement. But what are some other things? You've got the tax increases that Pritzker has ushered in. Illinois Policy Institute has a chart here to kind of break down some of the overall tax increases that Governor Pritzker has implemented in his tenure. In 2019, cigarette tax increased from $1.98 to $2.98 per pack. You can see, go on from there. E-cigarettes increased taxes in 2019. Motor fuel taxes doubled in 2019. You got managed care organizations with a new assessment tax. Video gaming tax increased to 33% in 2019. Foreign-derived income tax amnesty programs expanded. Title fees increased. Gambling taxes. Motor fuel taxes increased again. You've got the annual increase of motor fuel taxes. Then you got vehicle registration taxes that went up, trucking registration taxes that went up. Remember all that. Adult use cannabis taxes were implemented in 2020. You've got other registration fees. I mean, it's one after the other, after the other, after the other here. Then we get to a variety of other things: trade-in vehicle tax, accelerated depreciation deductions, franchise tax, the grocery tax resumed after it was frozen during the pandemic. The motor fuel taxes was frozen. That was resumed. So all of these different taxes, parking taxes, retail tax. Then we get to the tax increases that happened this year with the budget that starts July 1st. With also July 1st, your gas taxes going up yet again, linked to inflation. So, maybe that's part of the record people need to consider, is all the different tax and fee increases that Governor Pritzker has increased. You've also got the amount of lawsuits that there have been. I was starting to cover the State House at the tail end of Quinn's administration when Bruce Rauner came into office as a Republican governor. There may have been a lawsuit here and there, And yeah, it got a lot of attention, and typically it may have dealt with, like the Legionnaire's disease, for instance, the outbreaks that happened, and some of the fatalities that may have been associated with that. May have been some, other prison type of lawsuits that there were. But when Pritzker came into office, you've also got to look at the record of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2019 into 2020. We were told by the Pritzker administration that it was nothing to worry about, and there was no threat to the public at that time. And then all of a sudden, a week or two later, it flipped, and we were getting ready to go into a lockdown, and kids were going to be kept from school, then the mask mandates, and then all the lawsuits that flooded in. Pritzker administration sued up and down the state, individual families, collectives, people getting temporary restraining orders against the governor. I mean, even the mask mandate, it came down to a really interesting timeline of events where the one court said that the mask mandate was unconstitutional, and then the president of the United States, then Joe Biden, changed the recommendations for masks, and then Pritzker said, we no longer need masks, and pointing to the Biden administration, not to a court, saying that he couldn't force people to wear masks. So you had that, and then you have all the litigation about the gun ban. You've got all the litigation about other gun laws. You've got all the litigation that's ongoing about the state sanctuary policies. You've got the migrant sanctuary status that the state has, and expanding that with the Way Forward Act and the loggerheads that Pritzker's had with the first Trump administration and now the current Trump administration. So, I mean, these are some of the other things that people may consider when it comes to looking at the governor's track record. But you still have that floating in the background, the idea that the governor could line himself up to run for president of the United States. It'll be interesting to watch that unfold. We'll be here for it entirely. Of course, the Democrats going to have a primary for all the different offices, and I believe the primary's in March of 2026. Republicans also are going to have primaries where they're going to have, I'm sure several names in the ring for the gubernatorial nomination. You've already got one, Sheriff Mandrick, who's running, is already announced. You've got others who are thought to be possibilities. Everybody from Congressman Darren LaHood is a possibility to State Representative Blaine Wilhauer is a possibility, and a bunch in between. So, I mean, we'll be watching this because the official announcements are one thing, but it's all the filings that need to happen, and for people to get on the primary ballot, that will be fine-tuning and taking a closer look at. So keep it here with Illinois in Focus Daily. We'll break it all down for you each and every time there are updates right here, each and every weekday morning. It's with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, an editor for Illinois at the Center Square. Go to thecentersquare.com, sign up today for the newsletter, and get the latest headlines and the podcasts all at thecentersquare.com. All right, that's all I got for you today. Tomorrow, we are going to look at the census data, the most recent census data that has been released, embargoed until tomorrow at 12:01 in the morning. So we'll look at just real quick here as a primer what the latest data was. And this was the census data released from December. And you can see Illinois, you've got the estimated population here in 2020 at 12.8 million. All right, 12.8 million. And then in 2021, it was 12.7 million. 2022, 12.6 million. 2023, 12.6 million. Up about 20,000 though. And then 2024, 12.7 million. So it did go up from last year. We've talked about that before, where the population numbers were driven by international migration. And you can actually see some of that in the births, deaths, natural change, and domestic and international. But what's really interesting to see here is from 2020, 12.82 million to 2024, 12.71 million. that clearly shows Illinois, the trend is we're losing population. Governor J.B. Pritzker has time and again denied that. Here he is in Washington, D.C., testifying in front of Congress.
Year after year, tens of thousands of U.S. citizens are fleeing the state of Illinois. It ranks only behind Governor Hochul's New York and Governor Newsom's California. You all are protecting and harboring illegal aliens for political purposes. Governor Pritzker, would you support prohibiting illegal aliens from being counted in the census, yes or no?
Your numbers are wrong, sir.
Would you, yes or no?
Your numbers are wrong, sir.
Would you
Constitution
support
says how you
prohibiting
count the
illegal
census.
aliens being counted in the census? Would you? Or
No.
is harboring illegal aliens part of the strategy to get more Democrats in Congress? The bottom line is this: all illegal aliens have committed a crime and should be deported.
So the governor later on in that hearing also said that we've been growing in Illinois. It might be true from the year, but the trend is still that we're losing. We'll talk a lot more about this and break down the racial and gender demographics from the U.S. Census and how that looks with the latest numbers coming out. So we'll do that tomorrow. All right. Have a great day. We'll see you back here. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning for more Illinois in Focus Daily.